Everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meaghan Chitwood Live, powered by BNI. I am currently coming to you from the Coleman Area Chamber of Commerce. We love Chambers of Commerce with BNI and networking. And in this episode, we are talking to Nicole Stiltner. She is an estate planning attorney that has a wealth of knowledge and really sets herself apart in how she approaches the legal profession. She also is a coffee snob, and she is actually a Scottish lady. She is a lady in Scotland, and her burning desire is to own property in Scotland. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I love learning so much from these BNI members who are also small business owners in our local community. And so we bring to you a new show live every Friday at 10 a.m. Central. You can see the show live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. And then also you can see the replays on Instagram and LinkedIn. So with no further ado, welcome, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So first, let's talk about this coffee snob piece, and let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. Say a little bit about your coffee journey that you love so much.
Right. So my husband and I, we have two kids, and anyone with kids knows you have to be powered by something. We are powered by coffee. That's our favorite place. Anytime we go on vacation, we check out the local little coffee shops. In Huntsville, there's 1,000 of them. So we really like to frequent the local little coffee shops to see how everyone's unique. But we are those people that we order our coffee online, get it fresh, freshly roasted, have it sent to our house. We have the grinder, a hand grinder, the AeroPress, the French press. So we know what we like, but we also love to try new things. So I am all for any suggestions about what brand you like, or if there's something out there that I haven't tried yet.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. The great part is I love how you'll try anything. You don't necessarily stick to the one thing, but trying anything is, it sounds very interesting, because you mentioned also that it's black coffee. So you got to make sure that it tastes good without putting a bunch of stuff into it as well.
Yes. I don't pollute my coffee with anything. So I'm a purist in that sense. I just drink it black. So if it doesn't taste good, then we're moving on to the next one.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Well, let's talk about I want to talk about your profession. So you are an attorney, mostly focusing on estate planning as well. So say a little bit about that.
So we do focus on estate planning at our firm. The managing partner, Levi Alexander, and we both focus on estate planning. And really the way we approach it is relationship based. So many attorneys are transactional. You come in, you talk a little bit, you come back, get your documents, and you never see them again. We really try to focus on building relationships with our clients, because we want our clients to come to us for everything. We want them to feel comfortable with us so we can be a resource for them. So if they need an accountant, if they need a banker, if they need a real estate agent, whatever it is, we can help them with that. And we like to, have their kids or their grandchildren feel comfortable with us. So if the inevitable happens, we can guide them through all that. We also, Levi and I we're both parents. We both have kids. So protecting children is a big thing with us. We both practiced family law in the past. So we've had our fair share of dealings with DHR. And a child going into DHR care for even 3 minutes is 3 minutes too long. So we really try to offer things that protect against that. And to my knowledge, we're the only firm in North Alabama that offers a children's protection plan as part of our estate planning.
We'll talk a little bit more about that, because that's what I found so fascinating when you and I initially met, was all the things you educated me on me having an 8 and a 9-year-old, and things that I need to consider that I'd never thought about, other than the will. Like, you kind of know that you need to do the will.
Yeah, sure.
The other things as well.
So the easiest way I can explain it is to use myself as an example. I could, tell you the ins and outs, but always feel like it's easier to use a real world example. A couple of years ago, before our daughter was born, my husband got asked to speak at the University of New Mexico. So we dropped him off at daycare that morning. We got on a plane, flew to New Mexico, and my mom was driving down from Virginia and picking him up from daycare that afternoon. Well, if something were to happen and my mom didn't make it to daycare by 6:30, daycare is going to call DHR. They don't care. And they're going to come take him into foster care. So before we left, we executed a short-term guardianship. So that allowed our neighbors, Levi and his wife, and some friends of ours to have temporary legal custody of our son to be able to go to daycare and take care of him. And if something were to happen and my mom never made it and the police knocked on these people's door and they would say, do you have the legal authority to take care of, this child? They could say, yes, I do, and have the papers. So then our son could stay with them until we got back in town or until another relative of ours that we had designated as a long-term guardian could get to him. So that's one piece of it, is having those short-term guardians. So you have people that have temporary legal authority to take care of your kids. If something happens, they can pick them up from school, they can pick them up from daycare, they could even, take them to the doctor. The other piece of that is a child's power of attorney and then the healthcare proxy. So my son is very rambunctious, not outside the realm of possibilities. We're in New Mexico. He's a grandma. He jumps off something pretending to be a ninja and breaks an arm. My mom takes him to the hospital. Non-life-threatening injury. They're going to ask her, do you have, are you allowed to have him see, to have him treated? And, she's probably going to be like, well, I'm his grandma, of course. But unfortunately, that doesn't cut it. And if she doesn't have a kid's power of attorney and the healthcare proxy, they're going to have to get us on the phone. So they're going to have to contact us in New Mexico, try to get us to consent over the phone and email, whatever, to have him seen. But if she's got this paper, then she can say, yes, I do, here it is. They'll go ahead, they'll get him fixed up and on their way, and then she can tell us about it afterward and we can freak out then. But I tell people all the time that part of estate planning, it's not just, I'm dead or dying. It's, hey, mom and dad want to go out of town for a weekend and leave the kids with a friend, a neighbor, or another relative, and they just want to make sure that, they're not having to rush back in the middle of their weekend because, somebody couldn't get to daycare in time, or, somebody got an ear infection or, broke a bone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I find that most people also do not understand like how important it is to have a will and all of those kinds of things also. I just remember when I was in high school, my economics teacher, he took half of the term to tell us how to he called it how to make $1 million in 20 to 25 years, which is kind of like what anybody could probably do and he said, get a will, especially when you have children. And literally that's the reason why I went and got a will when I had children. I was like, but my sister Caitlin is also no children, but she's also thinking to herself, okay, well, I probably need to have something too, because she has nothing in place. So why would when is the right time to start talking about will and trust? And why would you want to have a will or a trust with children, without children, and the whole thing?
Sure. Anytime is a good time. That's a big misconception that we see. People think they have to have assets, or they think they have to have children in order to do these things. But that's not true. So it's not just a will. So with estate planning, you have powers of attorney, you have advanced directives, and you have, the will or the trust. So advanced directives became a huge thing, especially in the last year with COVID, because no one could be in the hospital with you. So, and that's a directive that says, I want to be on life support. I don't want to be on life support. This is what I want to happen. This is what I don't want to happen. So without those documents, that in and of itself, that has nothing to do with anything you own. That's just you and your person, like what I want to happen, which we saw a lot of this past year, especially because hospitals were restricting access and visitors. Powers of attorney too. If someone is in the hospital for a couple of weeks, who can call the cable company and get their bill paid? Who can make sure their mortgage gets paid? Having powers of attorney, those are two things that have nothing to do with what you own, but those are very important documents you have to have. As far as the will and the trust goes, probate is expensive and it takes a long time. So you have to go through the process. If you don't have a will, or if you do have a will, you're still going through probate. Usually the cost of probate is 5 to 8% of everything that you own. So even if you don't have a lot, you're still paying something. Yeah. But the minimum amount of time it's going to take is 7 months. So in Alabama, it takes about a month for the attorney to get everything drafted and filed with the probate court. Then by statute, the probate judge has to keep your estate open for 6 months so any creditors can file a claim against your estate.
This is if you do not have a will. This is if you do not have a will, or if you have a will anyway.
Both. If you don't have a will and if you have a will, you're still doing this. Yeah, you're still going through the process. So creditors, it gets published in the newspaper. So, hey, this person passed away. This is their estate. File your claims. And it has to stay open a minimum of 6 months. The average in Alabama is 9 to 16 months is how long probate takes. The other aspect is that your assets get frozen. So all your bank accounts get frozen, everything. So in your sister's case, if she doesn't have kids, unless her spouse is on her joint bank account, no one can get access to that money unless you petition the probate judge to release it. So
that even includes paying her mortgage.
Yeah, so either
her death, right? So technically, she could be in foreclosure before the estate is settled because she doesn't have anything. Oh wow, that's a good talking point for me to tell her.
Yeah, so it would be you. Like if it's your sister, it's like either you have to pay her mortgage out of your own pocket, or you would have to petition the judge to say, please let me have the money to pay her mortgage, so the house doesn't go into foreclosure, and then that's another mess. So probate, and that's with a will or without a will. The biggest difference between not having a will and having a will is at least you've said, hey, this is who I want stuff to go to. Whereas if you don't have a will, then the judge is going to look at your heirs, who's your next of kin. The analogy that we like to use with wills and trusts is if you have a will, it's kind of like walking down the street with a cardboard box. Everything you own is in the cardboard box. You trip, you fall, your stuff goes everywhere, and then it's up to the judge and your family to put all the stuff back in the box. If you have a trust, all of your stuff is in a little red wagon. You've got the handle, you're walking along, you trip, you fall, your successor trustee picks up the wagon and keeps on going. Nice. It's a private process. Funds are accessed immediately by your co-trustee. You don't have to petition the court, and you don't have to go through probate. As long as everything is funded properly, you don't have to go through that, so there's no cost to it. And it's a whole lot easier. So especially if you have kids, which this is the big part of it, is your co-trustee can go ahead and release the funds to the person that you've named the guardian, so they can continue to pay for your children's school, to pay for their activities, and you don't have to worry about those frozen assets.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Very interesting. So funny story about my husband and I, we were doing the will process, and it was before I met you, but we were doing the will process, and I get a phone call from the attorney, and she says, I think there's a mistake. And I said, what's that mistake? She said, you have his mother as healthcare power of attorney before you. And I said, oh yeah, that's no mistake. And she was like, that's very abnormal. And I said, my husband is afraid that I'm going to put him down when he has a cold. So he would like his mother to take care of it. And that's fine. His mother can take care of it until it becomes me. And then it'll be fine. But it was just so funny for the two of us to have such different what we wanted. And then he was like, yeah, I think I would feel more comfortable with my mother. And I'm like, that's fine. That's no problem. That'll be fine.
Yeah. So, every plan that we do is different. It's all customizable each to the individual, because again, we take the time to listen to our client, to learn about them so we can help them. Yeah. We don't bill by the hour like a lot of attorneys do. Yeah. We do a flat fee for everything, because we don't want our clients to have to worry about how much is a phone call going to cost me, how much is an email going to cost me. We want them to be comfortable to talk to us and ask us any question that they want, because at the end of the day, we want to provide them with something that they want that meets their desires, but we do it in a way that's legally sound and is going to get, the end result is the same. We get them what they want and make sure that everything goes smoothly for their family and they've not left a mess or a burden behind.
That's really important, because I remember just filling out a bunch of paperwork and thinking, I don't have I didn't have you to brainstorm with me on all the what if scenarios, because I was in the back of my mind thinking about what, how much would sitting down with them, costs. And then on top of it, is your attorney personable enough to empathize with you on the situation that you're actually in? And you guys do that brilliantly.
Yeah, we try to. That's our goal, is that we really enjoy our clients and we care about who they are and what they want. And a lot of our clients, they become part of our family. And we like to see them, not for bad reasons, but we always enjoy seeing them and reconnecting with them. And we always, every 3 years, that's our rule. Every 3 years we have them come back in, because life changes. And when you have these changes in life, your first thought is not, oh my goodness, I have to call my lawyer and update my estate plan. Yeah. We understand that. So every 3 years we have them come back in and we look at everything for them to make sure that it still meets all their needs.
Yeah. Excellent. And then also you keep in touch with your clients a lot, because you use BNI as another resource of I can provide you other things besides just legal services as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the great things about BNI, because obviously from a legal standpoint, we can only do the legal stuff. But we've had clients in the past call us because they want to sell a house. So we build that trust and that relationship with them. So they call us for other things. They want to know, where's a good place to have their car fixed? Where is what's a good HVAC company or a plumber? So we love being that resource for them. And I would not have that without BNI. So in BNI, I know that if there's someone in BNI, even if they're not in my chapter, I trust them because they're also in BNI. They've gone through the vetting process. So it's very easy for me to call my client and say, you know what, I have someone, let me call them and put them in touch with you. And, it makes us look fantastic with our clients that we can do that and be that resource for them.
Absolutely. We were talking about this idea of being a master connector, and that's exactly what you just described. Is I can help you with other things, just let me know. And then of course they'll always come back to you for the legal services piece as well. And you're helping them all along the way, increasing your value on a consistent basis as well. So you have a very unique BNI story because you did not start in BNI as a legal professional. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I did not. My first job out of law school, I was an assistant in-house counsel for an engineering company. Especially people in this town, they know that small companies live and die by government contracts. My company lost their government contract. I lost my job. I was working for a company headquartered in Louisville, so I didn't know anyone here. We'd only been in Alabama a couple of years. I had gotten the opportunity to buy an insurance agency, and I thought, well, I'll do this for a little while to get myself enough money that I can put my own shingle out and do legal work on my own. Someone came into my office, Cameron Starnes actually installed the security system, and she said, hey, we have an open position for an insurance agent in BNI. I'd never heard of BNI before, didn't know a thing about it. And she was like, I want you to come visit. I did. And from the minute that I got there, I was completely sold. Especially I had no sales training whatsoever. So it was really good for me. But after a couple of years, I started realizing that BNI, one, it gave me the confidence that I talked to people in the chapter and I thought, you know what, I can do legal work on my own. I don't have to wait for the 5 years like I thought. But the biggest thing to come out of it is that right after my son was born, there was a gentleman that owned he held the automotive seat in the chapter. My husband had dropped our car off for an oil change. He was asking how I was doing and if I was going to go, if I was still doing like legal work. And my husband was like, yeah, she's getting back to it. And his business manager at the time happened to be Levi, our managing partner's wife. She overheard it after my husband left. She said, hey, is his wife an attorney? He said, yes, she is. Do you think that she would like some extra work? My husband's been looking for someone, another attorney to unload some work on. So next thing my husband knows, he gets a call from Levi and he's like, hey, I'd like to talk to your wife. Levi and I, we sat down, we talked, and now we, have this thriving practice where we both, get to do what we love. We get to help our clients, keep kids out of DHR, which is a big thing with us. But yeah, so really, I tell people all the time that every penny that I have earned for the last 4 years could be attributed to thank you for closed business, because without BNI, one, I wouldn't have had the confidence to take that leap of faith without the relationships that I'd built from the people in the chapter. But two, I never would have met Levi. I sent out 1,000 resumes all over North Alabama when I was looking for a job, but 2 years in BNI did it for me. So it was
what you wanted, right? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, better than I could have, thought.
Yeah. So, so what were you looking for when you initially joined BNI? Because you talked about the sales. You were in a property and casualty insurance agent. Was it mostly about sales? Was your kind of initial draw into it?
So it was a couple of things. So my husband and I had only been here for 2 years and we had both worked from home. So we didn't know anyone. We didn't know a good HVAC company. We didn't know a trusted person to take our car to. So for me, it gave us an opportunity to have trusted people that we could actually use ourselves. But it helped me grow a network. So I came from Virginia, where my mom's been in banking for 40 some years. So she knows everyone. So I went from, hey, if I need something, I just call my mom and my mom knows someone, to here where we didn't know a single soul. But after being in BNI for even a year, I felt like I went from knowing no one to knowing a ton of people, because everyone in BNI is like, hey, let me introduce you to this person. Let me introduce you to this person. So one, it grew my network. Obviously I made money through BNI, but the biggest thing that I got out of my first 2 years was just growing my network and just knowing people. So if I came across someone that said, I have this need, I was like, ooh, I know someone, like I can help you with that. And then, BNI did help with sales. Like did not come from a sales background whatsoever, but it taught me how to network and how to build relationships. So you're not just the used car salesman or the cold calling. It's better. You develop the relationship, people, you see that you care about them and they really want to buy your product. And that's really what BNI taught me. So it helped grow my network, and then it actually helped me approach insurance in a different way, other than just I'm going to call as many people as I can and hope for the best.
And then you said it increased your confidence. What about it helped increase your confidence other than having this bigger network and knowing people?
Yeah, so it helped increase my confidence because after being in for a couple of years, I really wanted to get back to doing legal work. And people in BNI knew that I was a lawyer and did legal work. So I started doing things for them on the side. And I talked to Joseph Conwell, who's a closing attorney, and Tim Randall, who's the financial advisor at the time, and Crystal Green, who's with Cadence Bank. And I talked to them and I was like, hey, this is what, I think is, I want to do. And they were all like, yes, do it. I know you can do it. You have the skill set. So they really just gave me the confidence because I was on the fence about it. But the three of them, they really gave me practical, good advice, and gave me the push that I needed to take that leap to the next step, because I had actually already changed my seat in BNI from PNC insurance to estate planning before I even met Levi. So they had given me that confidence because they told me, they're like, no, I think you've got a good thing going on. I talked to him about business plan, like my plan for it and everything. They really walked me through it and told me, hey, I think you can do this, and you'll be good at it. And I started getting referrals from them. It was in January of 2017 when I made the change, and they started sending me referrals immediately. And I never missed a beat, and it was a whole lot easier. I got a lot more referrals and made more money at that than I did at the PNC insurance. But yeah, if it hadn't been for those three individuals specifically, I don't know that I would have taken that leap of faith
and done it. So one of the things I say when people ask, one of the BNI questions we always ask is, what's your key to success? And mine was I say my key to success is knowing what my goal is, communicating it, surrounding myself with a group of people, communicating it to them. And then I never stopped moving, trying to get a little bit closer to that each and every day. But you just proved that story is exactly that, right? You said, I want to get back into legal services, and they started helping you and pushing you to do it because they believed in you, even probably before you believed in yourself as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do say, like, whatever your goal is, and I've even been so funny as to be like, my goal is to get through a slalom course, skiing on one ski. And somebody in the room was like, I know a guy who's really great at that. It's just kind of like completely random. But like, that is when people care about you and want to help you, that's what can happen.
Absolutely. I always say, if you have a goal, whether it's, business related or not, if you say it out loud to your BNI chapter, whether it's in the meeting, in a one-to-one, whatever, if you say it out loud, they're going to hold you accountable to it. But not just that, they're going to help you with it, regardless of what it is. Because yes, BNI, we're about making money and it is a business, but we also genuinely care about each other because we have those relationships. So people want to see you succeed, whether it's, learning how to slalom, or, looking at a career change and taking that leap of faith. And that's, one thing that you don't find anywhere else.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what are some other, you decided to get more involved, so you help support chapters as well. What's been the benefit of that for you?
So the benefit of that is really just, I get to meet more people. So it's kind of, when I started BNI, I loved being able to grow my network and have other people introduce me. So I wanted to pass that along. So especially the new members that come in, if they're starting a career, if they haven't been in a business long enough, I really just, want to pass that along, because I know the position that I was in, and I know how much BNI helped me and the individuals in my chapter helped me. So I really just strive to be like that too, to help them if it's, something in their personal life, in their professional life, whatever it is, just really, help them to succeed, or at least get them to a person that can help them succeed. Because that's the other great thing with BNI is that you have this endless resource. So even if it's a new member coming in and they're, trying to figure things out, it's like, well, I can't particularly help you with that, but I definitely know someone who can, and then I can get them to another member. But I love seeing that and love being able to pass it along and help other people be successful like I've been.
Yeah. Well, and like you've named 3 people, right? They're a part of your story because they helped get you to where your ultimate goal professionally. And so they will forever be a part of your story. And I have those people in my world too that are forever a part of my story of my accomplishments. So what would be final word, or not final word, but what would be, if an estate planning attorney was thinking about BNI, what would be your advice to them?
Commit. It is all about commitment. You have to commit to doing, not just doing the power of one, having the one-to-ones, but you have to commit to the meeting. It has to be a part of your schedule. You have to take, a lot of lawyers fall into this trap, but I don't have time for that. Yeah. But BNI has become so important to our business that Levi actually joined a chapter at the beginning of the year. That's how important BNI is to us. I told someone the other day, this whole past year, my husband and I have been working from home, but he knows that BNI is so important that he will take the kids every Wednesday morning when my chapter meets to let me do it. But you really just have to commit. There have been times, I'll be honest, there have been times where I think, oh, do I really have time for this one-to-one? But I'll do it anyway, and then I'll end up getting a referral from it, or I'll get an introduction, and then I'm like, that's why I do it. I constantly get reminded of that. But you really just commitment. You have to do it. You have to commit to it. And the results come. If you just commit to showing up at the meetings, to having the one-to-ones and building those relationships, you don't even, if you do that and help other people, you don't even have to try. It will just come to you.
Yeah. I just did a presentation where I talked about the lazy river. Like, right. If you just do a few things, like it really isn't that hard. I mean, sometimes it can sound that hard, but it's not that hard. Pop yourself on a raft and let the lazy river take you once you've done the foundational work of building relationships, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you do the work up front, but yeah, it's just commitment, just putting the time in your schedule and making it part of your day. Like, it's just incorporating it into a part of your business. It's not something extra that you have to do. It's something necessary that you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I enjoyed hearing about your business and how you are very different and caring about the work that you do with your clients. And then I love your BNI story. Just love. I remember meeting you as a PNC agent, and you're like, but yeah, and I think you even said, yeah, but I'm attorney. Like, you always had that, yeah, but I'm an attorney too. Kind of. I thought, how does that happen? So thank you for sharing how you go from legal to insurance. And then I'm so glad that we were able to help you get back to what you really enjoy doing and what you really want to do with your career as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm very grateful to BNI and all the people that have helped me along the way, because it wouldn't have been possible without them. But thank you so much for having me this morning. I really had a great time.
Excellent. So our key takeaways for this one. Number one, I think it is tell people what your goal is. Even if you're not in BNI, if you've got a group of people around you professionally, that tell them what your goal is so that they can ultimately help you achieve that. One, it's very, very simple. If you do the one-to-one, that turns into a referral, right? You continue to educate yourself. It can be pretty simple. And then I loved what you said about, even when you say, do I really have time for this? Show up anyway, because you'll be surprised by what can actually come of it. But the other part that I'm going to say was between the lines was being intentional. You're also with it very intentional about building a relationship. When you're having that one-to-one, you're intentional so that it does actually turn into referrals as well. So those are my big takeaways from today's conversation. So thank you again, Nicole. Appreciate you so much for being here. So next week, I'm really excited to introduce you to Michael Luna. Michael Luna is with Blue Rain Express. And some of you might think, it's a car wash place. What would we be talking about with that? So I can't wait for you to hear why BNI has actually helped him with car wash and detailing. And then also, Michael is a very, very funny guy, and he has run one of the best BNI meetings I have been to this year. So I can't wait to introduce him to all of you as well. So until then, I hope you have a great week, and we will see you next Friday.